Hi and welcome to my vlog. Today I thought I'd show you a few simple ways that I create texture in the surface of my paintings. So I've just got a small square of paper. I've just laid down some colour just using acrylic paint, and I'm just going to come in now, put the brush away and add some colour using a plastic palette knife. Just really loosely. I'm just not worrying too much about where the ridges in the paint appear. So at this stage I'm still just using pure paint. A little bit of scratching back and mark making as I go. And now I've got some matte medium. So I'm just going to mix that with a little bit of paint. So this is just going to give the paint a little bit more structure. And just make it a little bit thicker. So just going over the top of that same area with the palette knife. And I don't worry too much about the fact you can actually still see the medium through the paint, because that will dry clear eventually. I'm just going to pop over the top with a roller just to flatten down the tops of the ridges. And now this is one of my favourite tools. So this is just an old store loyalty card. You could just use an old credit card and use it very much like a spatula. But it's quite good for getting right up to the edges of shapes. So just gently smoothing out the paint mixed with the medium. So it's got quite lumpy, as you can see, but I'm happy with those little ridges and bumps in the surface already. And you can also see that I've used a slightly lighter colour over the top of the original green. And so I'm just going to do the same thing over the blue area. Just mixing that same matte medium with some paint. And I'm just going to come in now with the brush and just kind of drag the surface of that medium. As the medium starts to dry, it gets a bit of a kind of skin on the top. And if you use a fairly dry brush, you can kind of drag the surface. So it eliminates some of the really high ridges. So I'm just mixing up some more of the pale blue paint and coming back in with my credit card just to add a slightly darker layer over the top. Just dragging the paint right up to the edges of the tape on the paper. Bit of light. So I don't get too fussy about the colours. I just can pick them up quite randomly from the palette. So now I'm just coming into the dark blue again with the brush and a little bit of airbrush medium. And now one of my favourite tools of all is just a piece of old t-shirt material. So as the paint's starting to dry, you can actually sort of polish the paper and lift some of the colour off the highest parts of the surface. And then we can go back in and just kind of buff areas with a bit more colour, just putting the paint directly onto the t-shirt material. Something a bit lighter. So you can alter the pressure that you apply, and that will change how much paint sticks to the surface and how much you lift off. So there's always an interplay between light and dark paint, and it's a question of kind of to and froing with something a bit lighter and something a bit darker. And that really helps to build texture rather than trying to just build the texture with a single tint or shade of paint. So you can see I'm just applying quite dark blue now over the top of that area where the medium is dried. And as I come back in with my t-shirt material, start to lift some of that paint off, and that really starts to deepen the visual texture in the surface. And if you want to, you can actually put a bit of water on your t-shirt material if you want to lift a little bit more paint. And so now I'm just coming back in with my brush with some kind of fairly random blues that I've just picked up from the palette. And actually just mixing the paint on the surface, so picking up lights and darks and just encouraging the brush to do the work in terms of creating a visual texture. Just working very loosely, and then coming back in with the credit card to do some scraping back into the thicker areas of paint. And so some lighter colour that I've just let down with a little bit of airbrush medium. And as that paint starts to run out on the brush, it becomes quite dry. So you can really start to pick up the ridges in the paint. So now the green area is fully dry, I'm actually just coming back in over the top with some blue that's been mixed with airbrush medium, which acts very much like a glaze. But the airbrush medium is a bit more fluid than the glazing medium, which can be a bit sticky. And again, just polishing the surface with that piece of t-shirt. And there we have it. A little texture study, just with a few ideas about ways you can create texture in your painting.